South Africa is part of the United Nations member states attending the Habitat Assembly, which seeks to find ways of urbanizing cities and transforming informal settlements through affordable and decent housing. Let's now cross live to our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena, who is joining us live from Nairobi in Kenya. Sophie, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. We just heard now from the mayor of the city of Johannesburg on his State of the City address. And one of the issues that he speaks about is the cost of living in the city. The other issue, of course, is around apartheid spatial planning, which has been a contentious issue for some time now. Tell us about the conversations that are happening in Nairobi around how do we make cities more viable, but also at the other end, how do we make sure that cities are habitable and more cost effective for those citizens?
Well, of course, we are coming live from Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa. As you are aware that the UN is engaged in discussions in terms of how countries or member countries can handle the issue of informal settlement or slums. The main aim here is to ensure that member countries do meet the sustainable development goal, particularly the one that deals with shelter by 2030. But there has been a lot of discussion around whether financially our countries ready, based on the fact that there were challenges during the COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine. We can see that in terms of cost of doing business, but also high cost of living that has kind of engulfed not South Africa only, but the entire globe. But before we speak to the Minister of Human Settlement from South Africa about the summit itself, let's start with breaking news last night. Good afternoon, Minister, local time, and good morning, I think, at lunchtime, before lunchtime, South Africa. The passing on of former Minister of Agriculture. Quite a loss. You were very close.
No, definitely, Sophie. Yesterday we received the news while we were here at home that Comrade Juma Peterson has passed away, said, and sending our condolences to the family, especially her boys that she loved so much. It's all of us are battling to deal with it. The news came just quite unexpectedly. So we definitely are paying tribute to her, acknowledging her work in the ANC and in government, but also just being a comrade and a sister to many of us in the movement.
Ahead of the Women's League conference, she was a candidate for the deputy president of the Women's League. We know that she contested elections in last year at the ANC National Conference. At a time where people are saying in terms of women leadership, the ANC and the country has regressed.
Look, definitely. I mean, she's one of the people that we had held quite extensive conversations towards conference last year in trying to find a balance in terms of having leadership and women leadership. And I think that's her strength, an activist in the Women's League as well. As you are saying, yes, she was contesting a deputy president position in the Women's League in the coming weeks, where conference will be convened in terms of the leadership of the Women's League. Hence, we are saying that this is definitely a loss. To see when we have few leaders in the Women's League that are really in the country that are taking the forefront of leading. It is a sad issue.
And finally, Minister, what can we expect this afternoon, your presentation?
Just to indicate quickly that, for example, in the morning it was quite a good debate around inclusion of women in the building of safer communities, what it takes to have women leadership in leading in communities, but what women are doing. The First Lady of Kenya was leading the panel together with other ministers who are here, sharing experiences on what they are doing in building safer communities. This afternoon, obviously, we'll be lobbying other countries to support the draft resolution that we have championed as South Africa.
Thank you, Minister, for your time. And back to you in studio.